Picture this. It's a cold, stormy night. Just before Thanksgiving in 1971, a Boeing 727 is cutting through the turbulent skies over the Pacific Northwest. Inside, the cabin lights flicker, casting long shadows. It's a routine flight, or so everyone thinks. This is the story of a man who stepped out of a plane and into legend. The story of D.B. Cooper. On November 24, 1971, Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 was en route from Portland to Seattle. A passenger, a quiet man in a business suit who had purchased his ticket under the name Dan Cooper, calmly flagged down a flight attendant. He handed her a folded note. Thinking it was just his phone number, she slipped it into her pocket. But he leaned closer and whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The note was terrifyingly direct. It detailed his demands: $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills and 4 parachutes. The flight crew relayed the message to the ground, and a tense negotiation began. The airline, wanting to ensure the safety of the 36 passengers, agreed to his demands. The plane circled Puget Sound for 2 hours, burning off fuel, while authorities on the ground scrambled to gather the ransom in parachutes. Finally, the 727 touched down at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The cabin was silent, filled with an unspoken fear. The exchange was swift and tense. The money and parachutes were brought aboard, and in return, Cooper allowed all passengers and 2 of the flight attendants to deplane. But he wasn't finished. He kept the pilot, co-pilot, and 1 flight attendant on board, and ordered them to take off again, this time heading for Mexico City. His flight plan was specific: fly low, no higher than 10,000 feet, and keep the landing gear down to maintain a slow speed. Somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, under the cover of a raging storm, Cooper did the unthinkable. He instructed the remaining crew to stay in the cockpit. Then, he walked to the back of the plane, lowered the aft air stera, unique feature of the 727, and stepped out into the freezing wind-swept darkness. He vanished, along with the $200,000, into the vast, rugged wilderness below. D.B. Cooper had disappeared. When the plane landed safely in Reno, the crew confirmed he was gone. What followed was one of the most extensive and expensive manhunts in U.S. history. The FBI designated the case Noriac for Northwest hijacking, combed the dense forests of Washington and Oregon. They had a physical description, a composite sketch, and even fingerprints from the cabin, but nothing led to a solid suspect. The man known as Dan Cooper, later misidentified as D.B. Cooper by the media, seemed to have evaporated into thin air. For years, the case file grew thicker, but the leads grew colder. The FBI investigated over 800 suspects and cleared every single one. It was as if Cooper never existed before he boarded that plane. The wilderness where he likely landed is unforgiving, especially in a winter storm. Many believed he couldn't have survived the jump. The frigid temperatures, the 200-mile-per-hour wind blast, and the treacherous terrain made survival nearly impossible, especially for someone in a business suit. Then, in 1980, 9 years after the hijacking, a young boy named Brian Ingram was digging a fire pit on the sandy banks of the Columbia River. He uncovered a rotting package containing nearly $6,000. The serial numbers were a perfect match for the ransom money given to Cooper. This incredible discovery only deepened the mystery. The money was found miles from the projected jump zone, and it was bundled in a way that suggested it might have washed downstream. Did it mean Cooper lost some of the money during his descent, or did he bury it and never return? Or did it simply wash out of his pack after he perished in the wilderness? The discovery raised more questions than it answered. The D.B. Cooper case has since become a modern American folk tale. Theories about his identity and fate are endless. Was he an experienced paratrooper, a disgruntled veteran with a grudge? Some people believe he was a man named Richard McCoy Jr., who pulled off a similar copycat hijacking just a few months later. But McCoy was eventually ruled out. Other theories point to a man named Kenneth Christensen, a former paratrooper and Northwest Airlines employee, whose own brother was convinced he was Cooper. But again, no conclusive evidence ever surfaced. Perhaps the most compelling theory is the simplest, that Cooper was an amateur who didn't know what he was doing and perished in the jump. He requested a main and a reserve parachute, but the reserve chute he was given was a training dummy that had been sewn shut. An expert would have noticed. The weather conditions were atrocious, and his chances of landing safely, let alone navigating the dense forest at night, were slim to none. It's very possible that the legend of D.B. Cooper ended that very night, his body lost forever in the unforgiving Pacific Northwest. And yet, the idea that he got away with it is captivating. The thought of a man who cleverly beat the system, pulled off the perfect crime, and disappeared to live out his days in quiet anonymity is a powerful fantasy. He's become a symbol of rebellion, a real-life anti-hero. Dozens of people have claimed to be Cooper or to know who he was, but every lead has been a dead end. In 2016, the FBI officially suspended the active investigation, after 45 years of chasing shadows. The files remain open, but the case is no longer a priority. The man in the dark suit, the bomb in the briefcase, the jump into a stormy night hit, all remains locked in mystery. He is the ghost who haunted the FBI for decades. A legend born at 10,000 feet, D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved case of air piracy in the history of the United States. And maybe that's exactly how he wanted it. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown. See you next time.